Hello everyone, welcome back to SSB Crack Talks. I am Anuradha De और आज के सेशन होने वाला है काफी इंटरेस्टिंग। कहते हैं एक श्रेष्ठ व्यक्ति कथनी में कम करनी में ज्यादा सफल होता है। महानता कभी ना गिरने में नहीं है, बल्कि हर बार गिरकर उठ जाने में है। यदि हम अपने काम में लगे रहें तो हम जो चाहे वो कर सकते हैं। और ये सारी कहावतों को सच किए हैं बैंगलोर कर्नाटका में रहने वाले एक होनहार लड़के ने, जिसका नाम है सिद्धार्थ आत्माराम, और जिन्होंने बिल्कुल आखिरी अटेम्प्ट में एसएसबी क्लियर किया है और एनडीए ज्वाइन करने के लिए अपना सपना भी पूरा करने वाले हैं बहुत ही जल्द। तो आइए स्वागत करते हैं हमारे आज के एसएसबी क्रैक टॉक्स में सिद्धार्थ आत्माराम को। ओके, हाय सिद्धार्थ, how are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I am fine as well. So welcome to SSB Crack Talks. And I first of all want to wish you a hearty congratulations on your being recommended in SSB, and now you're going to join NDA, right? Yeah. Which is your dream come true moment for you. So how are you feeling after getting recommended in your attempt for SSB?
I mean, my thing has been completely different. It hasn't been, let's say, an easy journey. It's taken me 4 attempts, 4 grueling attempts of trying to constantly improve. But yeah, the sense of satisfaction has been achieved. I would also say that, the sense of validation within myself that I do have what it takes to, serve in the most prestigious organization of this country in general. So yeah, the pride is there, the validation is there, and the respect that I get from others is also there. This innate sense of respect from others is also automatic now in general. So it has raised me in every single way possible. And yeah.
Okay, nice. So after hearing the good news, how did your parents and friends react to your success on the result day? The day when you came to know that you have been now ready to go for NDA. How did they react?
Actually, more than being recommended, it's that phone call to the parents and friends is what is more satisfactory. So I called my dad. He was, I live in Bangalore, so he was on the highway. And apparently at the signal, he started screaming out of joy when he heard I got recommended. Everybody around were thinking whether, he's gone mad or something. All my friends started crying because, it's been a, let's say, it's a group task so far to get me through the SSB in general. My friends have been thoroughly invested in me improving my personality in general. So, and my mother started crying as well. So that satisfactory call is what I guess a person should strive to get recommended for, rather than just, I would say the satisfaction of getting recommended is lower than the satisfaction of calling your parents and telling you about recommended.
Absolutely, I can understand. So how did you get motivated for joining defense or the armed forces?
It's, actually, it's an amazing question, because I feel just to put a certain pretext to the question, I feel a person's motivation to join the forces is extremely important, because not just to know that you're motivated or not, but the reasons as to why you're motivated and the reasons why you want to join. I feel your personality traits do also reflect as to why you want to join. So your personality traits are in congruence, or, in general, are just a reflection of why you want to join. So my motivation started way back. I've been reading a lot of history. I've read a lot of World War II history, and in general World War I, the Intifada, the Palestinian thing, the Syrian crisis, the Iraqi crisis. So I've always been into something which is military-wise. And it was this one conversation which I had with my father. So we were, he wanted me to do something other than engineering, anything other than engineering. So we just saw a few things. CLAT was one of the options that I thought of going through. And then we saw this NDA. So then I saw, what is this NDA? Let's go through it. And, the curriculum of the NDA, and I realized that, it was an entrance as an officer into the Indian forces. So that's where it all started. And I feel motivation in general has always come from I would say, the job profile of the forces. The fact that it is a constant adrenaline, you're basically in a constant adrenaline field, where you have this constant responsibility on you. You are tasked with things, not in general of just in improving systems or improving certain areas, but it is in improving the lifestyle, or I would say the social, the social upliftment of a certain area. So those are the kind of things that got me into the forces in general. And not just that, let's also take, for example, the materialistic things. For example, the fact that I would get a lot, the respect from others that I would get, the pride of just wearing the uniform in general. Certain things did push me to have the motivation. And I would also say, to represent my country in whichever way possible, to be an advocate for the principles that my country has, is also another thing that pushed me to get motivated in general to join.
Wow, that's a great lot of motivation going on in your heart and your mind. So that's the reason, I guess. Okay, so Siddharth, you have cleared ND examination 3 times. So there are many people out there who are trying their best to clear, and maybe they are not, getting cleared it in the first attempt. So how did you prepare for the NDA that you can clear it in every attempt that you gave for NDA? Just give some tips for, all of the dear candidates out there who are trying their best.
I guess, I can ease certain people's mentality right now by saying I feel clearing NDA is one of the simplest to clear it. Think about it logically. I mean, if you look at the nuances of the exam, there are certain areas which I feel are an absolute gold mine in general. One gold mine I feel is the English section. It's 200 marks out of 900, which is dedicated only to English. And it's very simple English as well. I scored 187 out of 200 in the NDA 148th English section. So, I mean, I've almost cleared the written alone, or in the sense, I'm halfway clearing the written through English alone. So I feel, more than looking at it in the vast syllabus that it is there, tapping certain areas which are very, dense in the number of marks that is given is very important. English, I feel, is the most important, and approaching English is also, it's interesting. Now, there are certain people or certain websites, I would say, which give coaching in terms of concepts of English, which I don't agree with. You can't conceptually teach English. Unlike other subjects, English isn't something that is conceptually taught. It's a linguistic thing. So it is more of you doing MCQs, and like, take, for example, there's a fill in a blank, and it is more of grammatical. It should sound good in your mind. It should sound right in your mind rather than it actually being conceptually correct. So if you go in the conceptual side, then there are a lot of confusions that can happen. There are a lot of things that can go wrong. But you constantly doing MCQs, speaking English, and also speaking the right English is what matters. Because if it starts listening right in terms of MCQs, then your questions will come right, left, right, center, like that. Not just that, in terms of maths. Now, maths is also a very interesting section. Yes, it is probably not simple for some people, but there are certain sections which are extremely simple. Statistics, there is complex numbers, there is integrals, there is differentiation, there are the algebraic section. These 5 sections, I think if you abuse, the perfect word would be abuse these sections, constantly doing the MCQs from every single angle, whatever questions will come. I think that's what will get you through the written. I can also give one more suggestion in terms of geography. Again, geography, I don't think concepts do go a certain extent, but I feel geography is also a very logic-based subject, and the kind of questions that come in India are very logic-based. Take, for example, what kind of crops grow in Andhra Pradesh or something like that. Knowing exactly what kind of crops makes no sense. Probably knowing the soil type will help you, understand how to clear that, or at least get that question right. Knowing the soil type, in the sense, the black soil that exists within Andhra Pradesh will know that tobacco can grow within Andhra Pradesh, cotton can grow within Andhra Pradesh. So rather than knowing exactly what kind of crops are there, the soil type, the climate, these 2 things are more than enough to clear any kind of question that can come based on crops or the vegetation in general. So I would say logically going for a question rather than conceptually going for a question is better. In terms of civics, again, it is slightly logic based again. And history, I mean, there's no logic. I mean, you'll have to go completely mugging up everything. But I feel the gold mine in the NDA exam is the English section, followed by maths and then geography. So if you can tap these certain areas, then you're more or less through. I mean, logically thinking about it, 4 lakh write the exam, 8,000 clear it. It may seem absolutely mad that how can you be one of the 8,000 of 4 lakh? But to ease the mindset of certain people, the majority of the people that write the NDA written just come to write it for fun. At least that's what I feel. Quite a few people I've seen, at least in Bangalore, the section, the centers that we have, they just write for fun. I mean, I don't see any kind of passion within them to write the exam. So I think 3 months of preparation is more than enough to clear the written. It is not an exam meant for an IIT person. It is literally meant for the average student of India, because the forces don't want an Einstein to join the forces in general. They want a person who can logically solve questions. So logically solve a question in the NDA written and you're set for, I guess, the SSB.
Wow, you have just got the pulse of the NDA examination, SSB in general, and your insightful tips for those of them who are preparing for the NDA. I think that will be quite helpful for them. And so let me ask you, you have prepared for NDA, right? You have prepared it for 3 times. So what was your strong areas? Was it the maths paper or was it the GAT paper?
Which the GAT was my strongest section. GAT was my strongest section. I had scored 517 in my NDA 147th paper, and majority of it came from the GAT alone. I don't remember the actual split, but majority of it came from GAT alone. And again, majority of it came from English alone. Half of it was from English. So, GAT was the strongest section. I mean, logically, again, you have 600 marks available in English, in the GAT, and 4 marks per question. So by just getting a question right, you get 4 marks. So logically thinking, you don't even have to answer every single question. Getting around 300 in the GAT is more than enough. 260 to 300 will help you clear it. Plus at the same time, around 120, 113 in maths, which is not a big deal at all, will get you through the written. Wow.
So you gave a lot of tips. I hope that it comes helpful. So tell me, what are the best way and practices you would like to suggest to the upcoming aspirants who are preparing for the NDA written examination? What are the basic 5 tips, I would say 5 golden tips you want to give them, specifically for those of them who are not able to crack NDA at the first attempt and maybe feeling a bit down, not confident enough for the second one?
Yeah, if you have time, I could actually kind of give like a path for certain people if you have the time. So again, there are certain books I can suggest. There are certain places that I can suggest. Now, rather than doing conceptually, I would say for you to clear the NDA written, it is better to do it via MCQs. Solve the MCQs of each chapter. What you don't know, just write next to it the actual answer. So again, if you actually want to get to the brass tacks, say on YouTube, you have a plethora of things that you can watch. You can go on any YouTube channel and just watch a certain concept, or just watch a certain chapter region. Like, for example, the Gangetic Plains in geography. You make bullet point notes for, say, a 45-minute video. Then immediately close that video, take a small break, open the DD book of MCQs, and solve the questions of that chapter alone, or the questions that pertain to that chapter alone. You will realize that it is extremely simple if you do it in a way of logic. So when you start applying logic to questions in the NDA written, you'll realize that it is very simple at the end of the day. So that is number one, doing MCQs rather than actually going through the concepts. Solving papers is extremely important because time management in the NDA written of maths is detrimental to whether you clear it or not. GAT is, you can finish it within 45 to 1 hour, but maths is extremely important. So solving questions, like say, a month before your exam, starting to do questions will go a long way, and it'll set you in a certain amount of confidence, or it's more like a reality check as to whether you are going to clear it or not. Then I would say, you put me on the spot at 5. I can come with another 2. I would say, again, for current affairs, I don't see it logical again to go through the newspaper, making note of every single current affair that you see. Current affairs is not that deep in the NDA written as what it is during the civil services exam. So for current affairs, I guess be more than well thorough with the defense exercises are there. You can just type defense exercises on YouTube and you'll get quite a few videos. Number 2, the sports awards. Again, whatever you can remember, you have to remember. One more thing that I would say is pretty much state awards, the awards that certain states get for whatever goodwill that they're doing in terms of environment or socialistic things in general. So these 3 things are very important for current affairs. The 5th one I would say is stay motivated irrespective of whatever stage you are in. Irrespective, you don't, again, the thing that I tell certain people is you don't require to score 600 or 900 in your written. Coming first rank or coming 400th rank makes absolutely no difference to you. This is not a placement, not like civil services where cutoffs make any difference. Army, Navy, Air Force, irrespective of whatever rank you come in, yes, merit out is there, but I'm saying till 400th rank, whatever rank you get between that makes no difference. So aim to at least clear it, not to probably top, but clearing it should be your aim. To get 400th rank or 390 rank won't make any difference. I got 80th rank. So it's not like I made it a point to come AIR-1 in general. So just make it a point to clear it, and after that, it's smooth sailing for the SSB.
Okay, wow. So the last point, I think, is the most important tips that you can ever give to someone who's feeling a bit down, not feeling confident enough for the next attempt and on. Okay, so now coming to the SSB, the nightmare, I think, for most of the candidates, I would say. So how did you prepare for SSBs?
It's a long process. Preparation, it is not a preparation. I would say the better word would be to create a better lifestyle in general, or to set the right lifestyle for you to do better in the SSB. Again, if you prepare for the SSB, you are only preparing superficially, and you are bound to lack in certain areas, or be hypocritical in your own personalities if you prepare for the SSB. I would say improving as a person is extremely important. I mean, there are various different areas. Take, for example, the personal interview. I would say personal interview is the most important amongst the three sections in the SSB. I've seen people who give answers which have no, again, I've told this to a lot of places, but which have no substance in them. I feel you giving substance to every single question that you can find is the most important, irrespective of what your question it is, except for probably the CIQs, for the cross questions or the current affairs or the observational based questions. You giving, I mean, this is a tip that I feel every single person should listen, is that you giving an answer which does portray a quality of yours is extremely important in the personal interview. By you giving an answer which is very blunt or which has no substance in it, is just making the interview boring, and the officer is not going to mark you, because at the end of the day, you are being marked. You are not being based on the number of qualities, you are getting marks. So for you to get marks, you need to give answers which have substance within them. Take, for example, I'll give you a random example. I was asked a question, tell me the irrelevancy of the United Nations in a way that the officer doesn't know. So, I told, sure. So I said, take, for example, the South Sudan mission. 54 billion US dollars was allocated to the South Sudan mission, and only 10 had reached on ground in general. So I said the absolute difference in the amount shows that the United Nations is not actually standing for what its agenda is. There is a lot of corruption that exists within the United Nations. And number three, the United Nations in this day of age is not showing characteristics of boldness. It is showing more of characteristics of where other countries can come and place their foot to gain a foothold over diplomatic relations in general. They're not using it as a platform to create goodwill, rather than it is more like a money-making platform in general. So you giving answers where you're observant, where you are observant in as to what is happening, and you apply that critical thinking into your answers, is where I guess it makes the interview interesting in general. So the officer will also be thinking, oh, this guy knows what he's saying. He knows how to think. So that goes a long way. Not just that, I would feel, constantly smiling, being, upbeat, rather than, I can give a strange example, rather than, being rammed out straight like this and talking like this for 1 hour. I feel it creates not a sour environment, but it creates more like a boring environment. So the officer, he also would be, I mean, he's taken countless interviews. So for you to be different, I guess you need to be upbeat, positive, irrespective of whatever happens. Not just that, take, for example, certain questions that are posed to you. Answer in such a way that you would actually act in real life. And I mean, certain areas, yes, you can't actually do in real life. Like, take, for example, in a way that you actually can't act. There is a bomb blast that is in front of you. What would you do? As brave as I am, the first thing I would do is run in the opposite direction, at least for some time, to actually collect my thoughts. But you can't say that. You have to portray certain qualities. So yes, there is a certain superficial thing that you'll have to apply, but certain qualities, like take, for example, he asked me, what is your wavelength of friends? What kind of qualities do you look in your friends? Then I said, sir, it is more of people who have ambition, who have certain goals ahead of them, who know how to balance their the outside life plus at the same time studies, and ones who understand my humor, and ones who I can spend an infinite amount of time without actually knowing how much time has passed by. So you actually, again, showing qualities within yourself in every answer that you give is extremely important. So that would be my thing for the personal interview. In terms of GTO, take for example the GD or GP, you being logical, you being critical, and also considerate towards others is what I feel goes a long way. Goes a long way in the GTO in general. I am tagged as a man who always dominates during the GD. So for me, it was a bit hard to accustom myself to others because I wouldn't say I have a lot of knowledge, but I feel the knowledge basis that I have wasn't, I would say, on the same level as others. So exactly. So for you always have to match yourself to your crowd rather than being better than them. So I feel that goes a long way. During the PGT, you showing a sense of compassion towards others, but at the same time also showing that you are alert. Say, for example, you have white, blue, and red as your color code there. Being observant as to whether everybody is following those color rules goes a long way in the SSB in general, that you are present at that stage. You are not thinking ahead, you're not thinking behind, you're not preoccupied or anything. Also lending help to others, constantly being the man of compassion, being logical in your ideas, using as less materials as possible, and being very efficient in terms of time. It goes a long way in the PGT. And in GD in general, you should act. I mean, in GTO, I feel the biggest tip that I can give in the GTO is, hopefully others can relate to this, but being the father figure in GTO is what I feel goes a long way. Now, what I mean by this is, everyone should look to you for validation. Everyone should look to you during a group as to whether they are right. In the sense, how do I say this? When you're doing your PGT, people should ask you whether they should apply that idea or not. People should ask you, okay, shall we do this? They should look to you and ask for those things. And take for example, in the GD, people should look to you for confidence. Act in such a way, be that body of confidence in general, where people look to you for confidence, or they look to you with, yeah, I am right, correct? What I'm saying is right. So acting like that kind of figure in the the GTO in general goes a long way. Psychology, I would say, again, your WATs, your SRTs, and everything. Do everything that you would actually do in real life. Posing as a person or posing a personality, again, it could work. I know for some people it has worked, but you can get caught in certain areas. The officer or the psychologist in general, in certain tricky situations, you can realize, okay, this guy is put, that's not actually him. So in certain areas, you can get caught out. So in your TAT in general also, write stories that the first thing that comes to your mind, because that's your instinct. I would say that, by you writing your instinct, it's the best way. You'll be extremely fluent. So by you writing your instinct, you will also be efficient in terms of time, because time is extremely important in psychology. So I feel this is my not initial, but superficial tips for the SSB in general. I would say to get yourself aligned mentally for the SSB, you need the right set of people around you, because the SSB, I wouldn't feel you leading up to the SSB isn't an individualistic effort. It is also the effort of the people around you, your parents and your friends in general. I would say more would be your friends, because it is their qualities that are pinned on you. You're a blueprint of them in general. So I would feel, make the right set of friends. Make sure that your qualities are aligned in the, your principles are aligned in the right set of directions, and don't lose focus. So I think that's my. Take for example also why you So take for example, first I went for Navy. So why you want to join the Navy? Giving answers which are emotional based, or giving answers which make no sense, I feel don't go along. I can give the reasons I gave. The reason I gave was, number one, Navy amongst the three forces is the only force which has the maximum international scene within it. In the sense, you are involved in the international scene, more than the three forces. So as a person who has always looked to outside my country for information or knowledge base, I feel the Navy will give me the most exposure in that way. Not just that, naval warfare, as history has spoken, is one of the hardest warfares in general, because it is take for I'm not degrading the others, but I'm saying the army is more of, there are only a few strategies that you can play with. Air Force, again, it is you and your jet in general. But I would feel Navy, there are a lot of factors that come into place, because you're not only, say for example, the army, you're not handling any multi-million-dollar equipment, but you're handling men. The Air Force, you're not handling men, but you're handling multi-million-dollar equipment. But the Navy is a mixture of both. You're handling multi-million-dollar equipment and men in general. So you need to be the most competent for the Navy. So these, your reason should be quite, I would say it should be reasonable. Then obviously the uniform of the Navy is, I feel, the most impressive amongst the three. And, naval warfare, as I said, the positioning of the ship, as history has spoken, for you to have the best efficiency in war, you need the best Navy. Because a Navy man can be an infantry man, but not every infantry man can be a Navy man. So, you are the most adaptable person in the Navy. So for you to be a Navy man, you'll be the most adaptable person. You'll be the most efficient person amongst the three persons. So I feel every answer, as I said, it should portray certain qualities of you. So I feel, these are, certain places that, at least certain suggestions that I would give for the SSB.
Okay, that's a lot of information, as I have just mentioned. You're giving valuable reasons also about how you answered. So that will help a lot of aspirants who are going to SSB, maybe for their preparation, about how to answer certain questions. They can obviously, take yours as reference. So that's again very, very valuable for them. So my next question is on your personality. You have a very bubbling, very brilliant personality. So I want to know how you work on your personality and what kind of improvements you saw in yourself when you went for the last attempt as compared to when you went for the first attempt in SSB.
Sure. Instead of me talking about the good sides, I'll start about the negatives and how I worked on my negatives, because I think that's more important. So I would say that from my previous SSBs, I was a swimmer, a Karnataka state swimmer, and I've been very competitive in all sports and extracurricular activities I do. I've done something called Module United Nations, where you're a delegate of a country. So I'm extremely, competitive. So my competitive nature forced me to always prove myself as the best in any group or any room in general. So that did not go well in the GD, because I made sure I put on my guys, my teammates, to make myself look supreme. I would bring out mad facts which others would have even heard of, which made the discussions, I would say, it made the environment sour, and it made the environment nervous in general. So that's one negative that I found of myself. The other I felt was, certain people felt I was intimidating to approach at first because of the way I speak and the stuff I speak in general. So there's certain places I had to work on. So these two are the main two areas. So how I worked on it in general, again, it was a group activity of my friends. My friends pointed out in certain areas where even the most silliest of discussions, I realized that I had to prove that I was right and others were wrong. So they helped me point out in places where I was actually propagating those ideas, where I was actually transpiring those ideas. So I made a point that I'll be the worst person in the group for the first week that they started pointing out. I would stay as silent as I could. So that helped me. So I realized that being silent does go a long way in the GD, in a certain way. Take, for example, again, the people, if hopefully the people who attended, who are in my GTO group would watch this, they would realize that I found out wrong. I found out they were logically, there was factual, they were logically wrong in certain areas of the GD. So I was pointing out every single place they were wrong. So the only way I would find that they were wrong is if I would listen to them. So that's where I felt that, you trying to prove others are wrong will just create a distasteful environment. It'll create an environment of nervousness. So I feel that's the first place that I improved myself. And intimidating in nature, I mean, I don't think I can do much about it. I just try to be as open as I can. Even today, probably people will feel I'm intimidating to approach. Working as a personality, I use the SSB as a reference, in the sense, here's another place where I feel the repeaters can relate to me. Rather than, see, there's this one word that everybody uses in the SSB, which is the most famous, I would say, is introspection. So you'll say, after I got rejected, I introspected in myself. Now, the word introspect has been diluted to such an extent that people actually don't know how to introspect. They would blame the certain, I would say they would blame their teammates or they would blame the task in general as the reason why they didn't make it. Or like, that's what I used to do at least. I mean, I'm a victim of the same thing. In the 147th course where I got conference out, I blamed that I did not do well in my PGT. I did not get recommended because I did not do well in my PGT. So I feel superficially finding, negatives about you isn't, it just, you're just, I would say, not accepting that there is something wrong about you. You are in this, you're not coming to reality that there is something wrong about you. So I think it takes a certain sense of maturity for you to accept within yourself that there are certain negatives within you. Working towards them is another step. So use the SSB as a reference as to where you're going wrong. So what I mean by that is, use the PGT as a reference. You did not do well in the PGT. Okay, don't stop at that. Why didn't you do well in the PGT? Was it because your teammates weren't accepting your ideas? Did you feel that you were not giving ideas which made sense? Did you feel people felt that you were arrogant and did not want to listen to your ideas? Did you feel you were shy and that's why people did not respect your ideas? Again, were you respected in your group? See, these kind of things you can use as a reference. Use your SSB as a reference rather than as a blame game. So that's where I improved as a person. At least I hope I improved as a person. And my bubbling nature in general, I would again thank my friends and my family in general for making me have this bubbling nature. It's just a part of me being, I would say, positive, because I feel, you being serious constantly and this sense of constant, I feel people feel if you join the military, you should have the ramrod straight face and absolutely no emotions, dead in the face and everything. So I feel that's not me. I have the complete opposite of that. So as a personality, I think this is where I improved. This is how I improved. I use the SSB as a reference rather than as a blame game.
Okay, right. So self-introspection did play a great role in your working on the personality and making a lot of improvements. So I hope, again, getting all the tips from you about how to properly self-introspect. As you said, there are many people who just say we have self-introspected, but they don't actually. Must make some kind of, improvements by just listening to you. That was really brilliant. Now, my next question is, just now you said that you were a Karnataka state swimmer. Right. So lots of sports and extracurricular activities you have been participating, maybe from school and college and all, from the school level. So I would want to know that how you managed your time as well as your studies along with the SSB preparation, with all the state level championships you went to for the swimming as well as for different sports and extracurricular.
Exactly. So again, I feel, asking how you manage wouldn't make, how do I say this? If you are going for NDA SSB, it is a given that you're going to be into sports. I feel, or sports or certain areas which include physical exertion in general. So if you are into that, then yes, you are made for you have to go for the not have to go, but people who go for the SSB usually are into physical exertion. So I would say for you, how do you balance? Again, I think that's where motivation comes into play. Forcefully balancing is, again, it'll only work for a couple of weeks or a couple of days. But you convincing yourself that the only way that I am going to actually culminate a good personality, or I'm going to culminate a complete personality, is if I'm good at balancing. So for you to, again, how did I balance? Now, take for example, I said I'm into MUN, Model United Nations, where I'm a delegate of a certain country. So I use that as an opportunity to prepare for the G. So, take for example, I was the delegate of Russia. I had my MUN yesterday, and I was the delegate of Russia for the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So I had to look from the Russian perspective of why they invaded and all sorts of things. So you can use certain areas, everything that you do, use it as an opportunity for you to improve, or as a preparation, not preparation, but I would say for you to align yourself for the SSB. So, you say, how did you balance? But do I have a choice? I don't have a choice. I have to balance. If I don't balance, then I'm going to either flunk my studies or I'm going to flunk in sports. So you can't take a chance on either of the two. So I feel for you to balance is more or less, you have to balance. You can't take a chance at anything. As I said, motivation plays a huge role in you balancing. Make sure that you're not, yes, studies. People say that, oh, for you to go to NDA, you don't have to study. You don't have to be good at studies. But for you to, if you're good at studies, your NDA written is taken care of. That's it. That's one scenario that is taken care of. If you're good at, I wouldn't say good at studies, but academically, if you're good, your NDA written is taken care of. Sports, if you do, then your physical thing in general is taken care of. Your qualities in terms of your physical things are taken care of. So use them as an opportunity for you to align yourself with these. At least what I would say.
Okay, let me take this brilliant opportunity and ask you about your daily routine. How you prepare your daily routine and how much you followed that routine on your weekdays and weekends throughout the entire journey.
Yeah. Again, so I'm one of those COVID affected people. So part of my, probably a year of mine was, it was more or less just sitting in front of the screen for majority of the day. But I would say daily routine does instill discipline. So how did I create my daily routine? It was, again, so as I said, when I used to swim, my daily routine was set by the timings of the pool. So I used to train 2.5 hours in the morning and 2.5 hours in the evening. And it used to be complete training in the sense we used to do physical. I mean, we used to do something called aerobic, anaerobic, and lactic tolerance. And we used to also do our swimming training in general and physio and everything. So how did I create a thing? So I mean, again, I don't understand how you create it. You have to do it. It's not something that you plan. It is by compulsion that you have to do it. So use it that as an option. So I would wake up, go training, then come back. I had a diet and everything. So finish my diet, then go to school. I used to come back a few. I used to come back a few hours early. So come back early. Again, go back training, come home, study how much ever I could, wherever I could. And again, sleep as early as I could. And then the cycle continues. There's one observation that I've made, at least from all the teammates of all the sports that I've played. Once you start playing sports, not professionally, but seriously, trust me when I say this, your academics are taken care of. How? When you start playing sports professionally, or when you start taking sports very seriously or personally, you will make sure that that is not affected by the fact that you can't do you can't do sports because of studies. So automatically you'll start doing your studies in the hope that your sports are not affected. So use again. So it's not something that you have to prepare. It's a schedule. It's more or less like a lifestyle. It is more or less your qualities are what is reflected in your schedule in general. So that's my schedule in general.
Okay. So my next question is, in your journey through all the SSB attempts that you went through, who played the biggest role for giving you the utmost strength and support throughout the journey?
I would 100% say my parents, especially, again, both my mother and father. Both of them have been a relenting, they've been a constant support towards me. Constant failures, I would literally call them failures, could have been taken in any way possible by them. They could have just said one day, why do you want to continue trying? It's probably not meant for you. But, this trust that they have within me, or at least that they felt that I have the qualities within me, I would say I would give them, a lot of credit. But I would also give a lot of credit to my friends. The friends that I have, they have been an emotional support as well to me, because I'm serious. They have been as invested in this journey as I have been. They've literally been an equal part. And that's why I would say that they cried when I got recommended. So I would also say that them constantly giving me this constant motivation that yes, you can make, because they've all achieved. All of them have done a lot of things. So they also understand that, that this would be a big deal for me. So they were also like a pillar of support in general. So I would just say my parents and friends were, extremely important in keeping me, I would say, happy or motivated in this long journey, 2-year long journey of mine.
All right. That is so nice to hear that your parents and friends were there all around you to be the pillars of support. And that has really made you so successful today. So my next question is about again, coming back to the journey of SSB. You said yourself that you faced with a lot of failures, right? So it was like 3 times you faced the failures. So in spite of getting the failures one after the other and the other and the next, so what is that particular thing which kept you awake? Which kept you going on, motivated, not giving up? Any quote also, if you want to, tell us and the viewers who are watching this, so that that can motivate them as well. So you can also let us know.
Sure. I have been through 3 constant failures that I would say, made me change my perspective of view on things. Failures that changed my mindset in general, and they made me look at things in very different ways. They made me more compassionate. They made me more emotional. They also made me understanding. These failures made me understand that as low as I can be, I have to get, I can't be down. There's this one quote by Major Satish Dahiya, who was posthumous. He said, "I rust when I rest." So this goes a long way by saying that you rest when you rest. Once you start losing this yearn to improve, you start rusting. If you start rusting, that's it. You're done for. It's a very hard process to get back. So I would say the reason why I did not probably go in or leave the SSB in general is my reason to join. So I asked myself, do I want to do engineering? No. Do I want to get into this rat race where everybody is in? No. I want to do something where I am more, where I can actually put efforts where society, where my efforts are reflected in how society works. Where my efforts are more, rather than money making, it is more of affecting people directly, emotionally, the way they operate in general, and also obviously serving my, the colors, the tricolor in general. So I would say constant failures, I took them positively. I mean, it's weird when I say that, but I actually did take them positively. How? Again, so it is weird when I say this, but I would say that failures made me feel that I am good. I definitely felt I'm good, but failures made me feel that there is a certain place where I can reach an absolute beast. I can actually be a lot better. So those failures made me feel that imagine how good I can be. I mean, if I actually improve. So imagine attaining that level of absolute, being an absolute beast in general. So I would say that's what kept me going. And this is one phrase that my friend in the NDA 147th course told me, which actually affects me even today. He told me, Siddharth, don't you want to join the forces as the best version of yourself? Don't you want to give the forces your best version rather than half of you? Would you want to give the best efforts? So that's what got me, going in general, and that's what kept me, um, hopeful of the day that I would make it. I would also say that I was never desperate to join. I was never, I know quite a few people who are desperate, and desperation, I would feel, forces certain personality traits within desperation. I wouldn't say goes a long way, because it'll, you would just feel worse than general once you get desperate. And I would say more than desperation, be hopeful. I feel hopefulness rather than desperation is what goes a long way. So I think this is what actually helped me in general for the past 3 attempts.
Wonderful. I'll take this opportunity and ask you the next question, which is quite obvious, is that it was the last attempt that you got recommended. So my question is, what were your future plans if you by chance were not able to, get recommended in the very last attempt?
I mean, engineering. I had already enrolled into an engineering college before I went to my SSB, and I'm right now in my second semester. So I would say future plans, again, it's pretty important. Future plans, I had quite a few. Obviously, engineering is one automatic plan. The other was CDS. I would obviously give my CDS. I was not that much into technical entries. So I wouldn't say I would give all my technical entry in SSBs, but CDS was an option. I also thought of doing something which I could get into the diplomatic, I would say the diplomatic system of our country. So that's one more thing. So take, for example, the IFS in general, or something relating to the CBI is what, another option that I had. So these were the options that I had. That's it. I mean, I also thought, I was asked during my interview as well, because I said I have aunts and uncles in the US. So he asked me, would you want to leave the country? So I said, sir, if everything fails, then obviously I have no other choice. I'll have to fend for myself. So I would also say probably shifting abroad is another opportunity, or hopefully an opportunity that I have.
Right. So what I learned is also you went for the TES entry once. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you tell us that what was the difference between the NDA SSBs that you went for and the TES entries? So I heard that there's a lot of competition, more competition in the TES entry than the written entry. So could you give us more insight about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, everybody has gone for a TS entry. They'll understand. I say that getting screened in TS is more or less like a lottery. As confused as the guys who get screened out, I'm confused as to how I got screened in. I mean, in the sense there were 400 guys reported when I went to Kapurthala for my SSB. 23 of us were screened in. So I would say the difference is, you being genuinely, you have to be the best in your group to get screened in. You have to give the most, not obscure, but the best points in the GD possible, the best narration that you can give. And I feel, my confidence as a narrator did go a long way during my narration. I mean, I genuinely smiled and gave my narration during my face because I was so confused as to how I'm going to get screened in. So the difference is, yes, it is extremely competitive because I would say TS entry is more or less like a pool of all the guys who got rejected. Most of the guys who get rejected generally come to the TSSB. So it's extremely competitive. So for you to get screened in, you have to be extremely good in your narration. Your story goes a long way because in NDA, I wouldn't say your PPTT story, it does play a big role, but it's not extremely big. But in your TSSB, it does play a big role. Your GD makes a lot of difference. And one thing that I feel a lot of people lack is your OIR. OIR also plays a huge role in your TSSB. From after the first day, it's more or less equal. I mean, I wouldn't say it's any different. But screening, yes, it's literally like a lottery. I mean, some of my friends, I mean, I'm just joking, but so we were discussing, I mean, do they choose people on the based on how they look? They're probably the best looking people are screened. The rest are rejected. I mean, it's a joke, but that's literally how a lottery, the SSB, the screening of the TSs in general. So, yeah, I mean, I would say you have to be extremely confident during your TS SSB. Be different from others because basically 1 in every 20 is going to be selected. So 1 or 2 out of every 20. So be the most confident, be the most different from others because they have to choose the guy who has portrayed the best, I would say the best version of themselves there. So I would say be the most different, give the best points during your GD. Don't create a fish market. But even if you do, try to be this properly confident person who is looking confident, like, okay, fine, let others scream. I don't care. When I get that opportunity, I'm going to absolutely pierce everybody's noise levels. This is just one. I spoke once during my TSSB during the GD, and that one point in the sense I gave 2 points, but those 2 points basically became our group story. So rather than constantly screaming, I would say you giving those 1 or 2 points, which will make it in the group story, which will make a lot of difference.
Okay, that's nice. So my next question is, how was your group in all the SSBs that you went for, and how the group played a very important role in your last, your recommendation, your last attempt? So just tell us how the group bonding or the group dynamics can play a huge role in getting recommended.
Yeah, exactly. As I said, for your voice or for your points to be heard, rather than on, during the task, it's off tasks how you make yourself perceived by the others. Whether you need to not make sure, but I would say be yourself. But if others respect your points, automatically your points in GD will be heard. If others feel you're positive, automatically they will look for you for confidence. If they feel that you are not arrogant and if you are genuinely listening, they will automatically shut their mouth when you give your points. So I feel that group dynamics plays an absolute majority role during your GTO. I would say I had the best group during my NDA 147th course. The boys that I met there, I don't think anybody can match that. But I would say the group that I got recommended with were equally good. I feel the level of group discussions that we had during my 33 SSB, the Navy SSB, was quite a lot higher than the Army SSB that I went for. I would also, the kind of shenanigans that we did during the SSB of the 33 SSB was pretty good. I had a lot of fun. I mean, all of us had a lot of fun. And, here's what I will also say is go there to actually have fun. Genuinely. I mean, don't forcefully have fun, but genuinely go there to have fun. Once you go there to have fun, things will automatically fall in place. So I would say, yeah, it plays a huge role, group dynamics. And I mean,
okay.
The post recommendation experience that I've had is unmatchable. The stuff that we had done was,
okay, right.
I think that is pretty good.
So working on your group bonding off tasks is very important, as you said.
Exactly.
So that is I think, valuable tip for those who think that only performing in the group in front of the assessors or when the testing procedure is on is the important thing, but it's not. Yes, true. So my next question is, tell us something about your hobbies and how practicing, going on with those hobbies has really helped you in your SSB preparation.
Sure. One of my main hobbies that the GTO actually listened. So I own a podcast page. I own a Formula One page. It's called Front Wing Damage. It's co-owned by me and my friends. So we do podcasts and we do analysis of F1 race weekends every Sunday. So I actually sit and read about the engineering department of Formula One to make sure I can give the best verdict of each race weekend in general. So it was such a different hobby that the assessors apparently actually listened to my podcast before I went for my conference. That apparently before I went into the hall, they opened Spotify and listened to my podcast. So that was one of my hobbies, doing my podcast and writing my things in general. The other I would say would be geopolitics. I would say constantly reading about geopolitics is another hobby of mine. I've been thoroughly invested in World War II and the Syrian crisis, and this, I would say, the Arab Spring. Excuse me, the Arab Spring and World War II are two things that I've been thoroughly invested in, and obviously current happenings in the world. So I like to genuinely read about things and create my own opinions as to what my perception of those things are. The others would be I listen to music. I mean, I did not say that, but if you wanted, so what I wrote in my PIQ was podcast, geopolitics. I also wrote about cycling, and I wrote about gymming. So these are the four things that I wrote, which are my hobbies. So I mean, how did they play a big role? Me doing a podcast every weekend instilled. So that 2 hours that I had to happen, irrespective of whatever happened in my life. Those 2 hours I had to spend on my podcast, and I had to spend writing things. So hobbies play a huge role in a way of creating it creates a new lane for you, in the sense that you become more interesting, or in the sense by you doing more hobbies, you just learn new things or you discover new things. So I feel discovering new things, or the opportunity to discover new things, is what or why you should do hobbies. How they help for the SSB, I wouldn't say they helped as such in the SSB. I mean, my podcast helped me speak a lot. So me speaking a lot helped in whatever way it did. So I feel creating hobbies creates better interest for you. You will start you'll start learning new opportunities to discover new things about yourself through hobbies.
All right, that's really nice. Listening to all your hobbies, quite very out of the world hobbies. But yeah, I think, and you also said just now that they really helped you in your preparation and also in your performance in the SSB. So my next question is, who's your role model?
There are quite a few. I genuinely have quite a few. If you're talking non-armed forces related, there's a Formula One driver. His name is Sebastian Vettel. So he's been a role model of mine in everything that I do. How, again, so as a role model, obviously the achievements that he's had in his sport, but also as a personality, I've picked up a lot of things from him. The charisma that he portrays within his team, the positivity that he has within his own team. In the sense, as bad as the race weekend could be, the team in general feels good. So that's what I've attained from him. 2020 and 2021 weren't really good years for him, because he had quite a few. So he went into a lot. He actually showed me taught me that mental health actually makes a lot of difference. People may say that you're in the armed forces, mental health, you should not care, you should be some beast. But I would say mental health actually makes a lot of difference. You need to look out for yourself, is at least what I learned from him. Hard work is at least another thing that I learned from him. So armed forces related, I have many role models. One of them is Captain Gurbachan Singh Salaria, who died in the Congo mission. His story of the way that his men looked at him and the inspiration that he took from him. And they basically, the way they looked at him, that he was some kind of messiah. It was some kind of God. is, some kind of inspiration that I got from him. I also took a lot of inspiration from Major Mukund Varadarajan, who was part of the Russia Rifles, and he's again posthumous. So the fact that, quite a few stories from him when he was in his regiment is another inspiration. I mean, you can read about these people. And also there are quite a few people from the Navy, from, World War II times, Admiral Yamamoto, and quite a few other people who, who are pretty, smart in the way they portrayed themselves, is inspiration that I took from. So these were my role models in general.
Okay, so my next question is about SSBCrack Exams itself. So how SSBCrack Exams helped you in your preparation?
Yeah, so I attended the live classes for I think a week or so. It gave me an opportunity, I would say, to actually, in the sense, I had gone before my 148th, the most recent SSB. So it gave me an opportunity to, I guess, encounter various kind of people. So I encountered a person who gave me a run for my money during the GD. There are also people who kept absolutely silent when I spoke. So it also gave me, it gave me this platform to realize how I should portray myself during the GD and how I should, I guess, act during a GD. Lecturate, it also gave me an opportunity to see the kind of topics that you felt could come during the lecturate. So those lecturate topics as well. And I created this one template for my lecturate. So it helped me also speak fluently during my lecturate. And there was a mock interview as well. It also helped me obviously to make sure that I look presentable and feel presentable and also look confident in general. So this is where it helped me.
Okay, so my last question is about how you are celebrating the time now you are going to join the academy, and what are your plans before joining the academy?
Again, so celebrating in general is nothing to celebrate about right now. I mean, a lot of things yet to do. So, I mean, it's too early to celebrate. So I would say looking forward to whatever lies ahead. I guess, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so that was a very, very valuable and insightful conversation that I had with you. I hope that our viewers also enjoy this interview, and they will get, I am sure, a lot of information and tips about how they can prepare not only for the SSB, but also for the NDA examination. So thank you for spending such a beautiful time with us. Thank you for giving us
Thank you as well for hosting me. It was a nice time.
And we all want to see you donning that beautiful uniform you have been waiting to don throughout your life. So I wish you again a hearty congratulations, and also all the best for your upcoming life and future as an officer. Thank you.